There are so many examples of charter schools that are hubs in their communities. They're the center of their community. Many charter schools, the origin story was that a community came together because they weren't being served well and they started a charter school. So charter schools have local boards that are oftentimes made up of folks that live in that neighborhood. The vast majority of charter schools across Indiana are not part of national charter management organizations. They're actually locally run. Resources stay locally, and they're held accountable to local members of their community. There are so many examples in Indianapolis and in places across the state where if that charter school didn't exist, that community would not be served. And the reality is that charter schools continue to fill community needs, and the grassroots support for charter schools at the neighborhood level, at the community level, only continues to grow.
I think one of the things that is the most important is opportunity. Opportunities should be afforded to all children. And when we think about Spanish immersion and kids taking 6 field trips a year and having partners come into the school and having science fairs and experiences where students travel to colleges and we go out of state, all of those things, all children should receive. And all of those things should be a part of options for kids, especially kids of color and children who have lower socioeconomic, or children of poverty. And so because of that, we work with our community, we bring in community supports, we reach out to our community, we're clear about our community being a resource to us, but our children learning to not only learn in the classroom, but push out into the community.
We are basically a small neighborhood school that's full service. If our families are hungry, we have a food pantry that our kids run. Our kids farm land at one of our other campuses, and they go and they feed families, they feed the community, they set up on farmers markets and give away food. And so, we are becoming that full service group that we just want to help. And if we didn't exist, there would be a gap, right, in our community. And some of those kids that kind of fly under the radar, they're the kids that are now kind of blossomed or transformed into these exceptional leaders and these standouts, and they're so confident in themselves, but if they were in kind of a larger environment, probably wouldn't have happened.
Our community support in this building is strong. We've got a very good connection with the Boys and Girls Club of St. Joseph County. Ivy Tech is one of our main dual credit partners. We have a partnership with Indiana University South Bend, where they send tutors into the building to help us with our win time, which is our what I need time. So students get individual help with math, science, social studies, and English from IU South Bend students. We also have partnerships with just any and all organizations around South Bend, whether that be students that are going out to work, students that are going to internships. I would say that there are too many of those to name off the top of my head.
So one of the things that we are really passionate about is community engagement. So we work with communities, each community, and we work from an asset-based mindset. So we work with community leaders and ask what they'd like to see in a school, where they see needs, and we say we're the school without walls. We physically have walls because you need those, but community partners come in and our students go out into the community. We consider ourselves community schools, and we exist to engage in the way that is best for families, students, and communities.
I think what's really been transformative is the community-based approach, that we aren't just a school that sits in its little silo and serves one tiny community. We are a neighborhood anchor, and we strive to be one. We want our teachers out in the community, a part of community associations, neighborhood groups, and larger scale efforts. And we want our buildings open to the public. We want our recess grounds open to the public. So we are an area that can be used as a resource for everybody around us. So in addition to innovations in education, which we're happy to share and transparently want everybody else to follow if they work, we also become that anchor in a community that can really transform a neighborhood's ability to grow and thrive.
Schools in general have been, adding to what their requirements are to do in their buildings, right? Like whether you have transportation, whether you have mental health services, whether you have outdoor environments, whether you have organizations for parents. And I know some schools even have health programs now in their school. And we keep adding, which schools have always kind of been that place to write the family structure and the wellness in our community. But we can't do that without giving the proper resources to the community. Last year, we had an agreement with a local mental health organization to provide services to our families. That had to stop because they didn't have enough people. We've now started another agreement with another provider. And just within a few hours, we have over a dozen families that have said this, I've been looking forever, I don't have that. Schools are being asked to do more for our communities, and we have to make sure they have the resources and funding they need to help solve the community's problems.
So in Indianapolis, when I think about when a new charter school launches, chances are that that school was launched by a community for that community, and the school model was consistent with what that community said that they needed. And that's not true when we think about large school districts. Large school districts are oftentimes one size fits all, where the central office mandates a curriculum regardless of what a community may or may not want. So not only are charter schools held accountable at much higher levels, but they are, by their very definition, responsive to communities, and that results in school models that are extremely diverse. Montessori schools, micro schools, schools that are focused on CTE, schools that are focused on college prep. You've got all of that and more in the charter school sector because charter schools have to be responsive to families and communities, and that's what we consistently see.